Piece of shit.
Yeah. Jump into number 7 here. We have Joe Mixon from the Bengals. I'm not sure why I had Joe Mixon on my list, but I want to put him a little bit higher. And it's funny because our buddy Art, he was trying to trade Joe Mixon all last year, and I'd always give him shit, and I'd be like, bro, nobody wants Joe Mixon's bum ass, blah, blah, blah. But it was more of the line that I wasn't saying nobody wanted Joe Mixon. I was trying to explain to Art that, each year things change, and last year it was just one of those scenarios where, they went out and they drafted, a lineman with the 11th overall pick in the draft from Alabama, I think it was. He got hurt and he was out for the entire year. So they should get him back this year. It's only going to boost the line. You got A.J. Green, who's been out for the whole year. I mean, when you lose a guy of that caliber, you lose into Julio Jones, a DeAndre Hopkins, a Devontae Parker-esque kind of guy.
Jesus Christ.
For your team, that's obviously going to affect how the defense plays you guys right there. So
no, and once Andy Dalton got back in, that's when he started doing well. Because Andy Dalton it's not that he's trash like that. They just don't really like him like that. But he's way better than Jake Finley.
I should make a T-shirt that says he reminds me of Devontae Parker.
So once Andy Dalton got back in the game, he was getting 28 touches a game, and he ran for 1,000 yards in 7 games. I think I saw. So
yeah.
With Joe Burrow coming back, that's why I like the offense.
Joe Burrow's coming back now?
And that's a rookie quarterback's best friend. It's a good run game, some defense. So it's gonna go through probably the run game in short passes. But Joe Burrow's, we don't know obviously, but that's what they're gonna bank off of, and that's why I like him, because I think he's gonna be good for them, and they're gonna run the ball. They're gonna pound the rock a good amount.
Yeah.
So it's opportunity.
I have him a little bit lower. Like I said, I'm assuming nothing. So it's part of that is, I don't know what quarterback they're going to take. Could they trade back? Well, and then let me get to the other part of this. 7 games last year, under 10 points.
Yeah.
That could happen again.
First 8 weeks, for sure.
Because, no, it was split. Even when he was getting 20 carries, he was still getting under 10 points. I was looking at this today. Bet.
But one of those, I don't mean to cut you off, but just kind of chime in for a second here. But you see right here as the highlights, they're 0-9, so they weren't very good, and obviously it shows they have the first overall pick in the draft.
He's from Oakland, though. That's why they balled.
But like we were saying, they, when you don't have a guy like AJ Green out there with the defenses are kind of scheming on, and you don't have when you draft, a left tackle,
takes it to his mom,
to protect the quarterback or even just boost that offensive line. You lose him before the season even starts. You're banking on, you spent the 11th overall pick on a guy. You're banking on that guy being there 16 games and making an impact immediately. So you lose 2 of those guys there. I feel like that can really hurt the offense. First year in the Zach Taylor offense comes from that Sean Payton tree. So I think, a second year in there, you're getting a couple really solid pieces, left tackle and wide receiver back in this offense. I think those things can just kind of boost him. And as long as he's getting the volume, which he was, I think he was top 10 and in touches and carries and whatnot. So I think that he can get it done. If he's going to get the volume and the offense is only going to get better second year in the system, I think the sky's the limit for him. But like I said, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I agree with you, but I'm just going to say some just so people can understand the both sides of it too. You assume that the guys are going to come back healthy this year. It's an assumption. You assume that a rookie quarterback is going to come in and be good. They could still be a bottom of the barrel team. And I keep pointing out points per game per team in offense. Wouldn't surprise me if the Bengals are picking first or second again this year. And that is something you have to worry about with Joe Mixon. 3 touchdowns last year. And if they're not scoring a lot of points and they're struggling again, and Zach Taylor in his first year didn't show a lot of promise. He could be fired midseason.
Yeah.
And they could have a whole flip on that. I'm playing just some of the negatives on him because there are some real red flags that I'd like to consider with him. And that's, like I said, if the offense is in the lower half of points per game, they were I think 16 or I forget it off head. I don't have all the numbers, but real low points per game last year. Like I said, that can lead to a low touchdown total. The receptions weren't as high as I like to put someone in the top 6 that's on a low scoring offense. I think it was 38 receptions or something like that. So I want that to go up to 50, 60 if I'm going to put him in my top 7 guys. Most of these guys I have up there outside of maybe Derrick Henry, they're usually getting around 50 catches.
For sure.
And then the last part was, I don't know, fucking forgot.
So I'll say,
oh no, it was the 7 points, the 7 games under 10 points. If they do struggle again, it's not unrealistic to see. If I have them in my top 8, which I can argue because I had him there at one point. If I'm taking this guy in the top 8, I want a sure thing. I don't want a guy who's this is another reason why someone I know you don't like, but I might even move them down as well too. I don't want 7 games of under 10 points. Yeah. My top 8 running back. I'll take that out of my RB2.
For sure, yeah, 100%.
But I don't want that on my RB1.
So I just looked at his last 8 games. His worst game, the last 8 games of the season, half point PPR was 9.5.
Let me see it.
His rushing numbers. Last 8 games, 115, 86, 80, 45, 145, 135, 160, and 50. Rushing yards. Just rushing. Just rushing. Catch yards.
Where's the fantasy for?
No, that's it. I did it in my head. What do you mean?
Half or full?
That's for the game. This
No,
dude,
I'm
this
saying
dude's worst.
total points though for fantasy.
No, his
points.
worst game was the last 8 games was 21 carries for 50 yards, 2 catches for 23 yards, which is 9.3 points. That was his worst game. Actually, no, it says right here. No, yeah, 9.3.
Is that full point or half?
That's half point. 9.3. This dude
That looks
balled.
like
He
full,
ran
'cause
for over.
that's what I saw in full.
He ran for over 1,000 yards in 8 games.
I can follow that.
Yeah, no,
He's a
I
beast.
love Joe Mixon. One
He's a
thing,
beast.
one thing I love about Joe Mixon, regardless of where you want to put him, higher or lower, I think that he kind of, we always joke around. We say, "Oh, he's dead to me." You know what I'm saying? Like, you can say right now, like Kamara's dead to me. You're joking around earlier. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like people who drafted Joe Mixon last year, he's like maybe not. They're not going to be like so gung ho on him. So he's a guy where he's probably going to fall in the second, third round, and I'll be like ecstatic to take him there because I think he's got top 5. Easily top 10 potential here.
I mean, it's quarterbacks. I mean, look at that. His first 8 games, his highest rushing game was 66 yards. They bring in Andy Dalton, and the very next game he ran for 115.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Joe Burrow is way better than Jake Finley. I bet you Jake Finley's probably not even on a team next year.
Or was it? Who was the quarterback?
Jake Finley. Well, it was Jake Finley and who started the season for them?
They were shuffling.
They were
quarterbacks,
terrible.
But that's what I'm saying.
So,
but I get what Anthony's point here. But and I agree too. Like you want to draft players who are on good offenses because I want to have a player whose team averages 4 touchdowns a game compared to a player who only team averages 2 touchdowns a game. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You have double the opportunity to score touchdowns. Maybe instead of getting like 0 to 1 touchdowns a game, now my guy's getting 2 to 3 touchdowns a game potentially. So that is definitely a huge thing that you have to take into account. But like I said, my argument was you're getting your left tackle back. You're getting AJ Green back. John Ross was banged up.
And your other offensive.
Potentially.
Your other guard, too.
Potentially, you're drafting Joe Burrow, Heisman winner,
They could draft
national
another lineman,
championship.
too.
No. They had 2 O-linemen that didn't play last year.
Well, I'm saying they could draft another one this year as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the second half of the season compared to the first half, they were way better. I mean, they were terrible.
Yeah.